Go hi, kids! And we're back and we're all here and everything's good. And so far with me, I have the wonderful, the one, the only, the beautiful and the brilliant Bionic Dance.
Hello, how is everybody?
Oh, I hope
They're
everybody's
not
doing all right.
answering.
No, they're not. I don't know. Oh man, I forgot to hit that applause screen a little while back. Let's see. Is there okay? That just popped in. God, there's a lag on here. Um, so
Actually, I have not. There we go. I got it just in time. I hadn't muted the main screen yet, and so I was a little worried. But yeah, if that's the lag, it's like a minute or two of lag.
yes, it's a lot more than it was when Maddie was on. When
Weird.
Maddie was here, it was only a few seconds, and then just starting up the next watch, the next connection to the stream, it just went in a
Yeah.
big hurry. Oh my, oh my. Yeah, we've got a couple other join links out there. Let me see who's all there. Sloth Girl, have you checked your DMs yet? Um, let's see. Is Bible Belt Atheist over on the side? Are you finished walking your dog? There's one out for you. Purple, in case you want to come on in, there's one for you. Anybody else who wants to come in, just scream. And yeah, unfortunately, Maddie.
Ah!
God, you're always welcome here. I
Oh,
love
first
having
thing I
you
do.
on. Seriously.
Course, but whenever someone says something like that, the horrible part in my brain is like, let's see how far I can push this limit.
Oh,
I'm always welcome. Well, let me start talking about your close relatives. And I gotta, you know,
Matthew Randall. Okay, sweetness. I am going to slam a link out to you. Wait a minute. Which Matthew are you? Okay, Matthew Randall. I am forgetting which Matthew on Twitter are you? So let's. Okay, Sloth Girl, you're still not ready for voice chat. That's okay. Um, oh man, great having you watching and everything. Okay, yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
so one thing that was actually a little misunderstood in the main show, when I was saying that, like usually on TV, like in a sitcom or something, someone discovers that someone else is not the sex they thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that they go, "Hey, dude," to one of their friends. It was, "Yeah, we got home. Turned out she was a dude." That's the context that I was talking about. Is they always say a dude,
Okay,
never a
yeah,
man, never a male. Just always, "Hey, that was a dude," right? And I think that's really odd.
yeah.
That is just the word that always gets used.
Uh, check your DM, Matthew. Yay, 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 yay. Yeah, and well, that whole it brings to my mind that whole no homo thing. Yeah,
I'd forgotten about that.
you can't express any affection at all, any liking, whatever between one guy and another. It's always got to be yeah, no homo, no homo. It's what's wrong
Right.
with these guys?
Well,
Um,
it is always kind of weird to go back and watch like movies from, well, my favorite decade, the 80s, and see how often homo is used as an insult.
mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, even in some of my favorite movies, There's moments that are now cringeworthy. Like I was watching Adventures in Babysitting, if you know that one, and this one guy he's trying to tease his little sister. His little sister is obsessed with Thor, right? Not
Okay.
necessarily the Norse god, but rather the superhero Thor.
Okay, fine.
And at one point, like she's defying her brother in some way, like, and she's coloring this picture of Thor, and her brother goes, "Thor's a homo," and she's like, "You take that back. You take back what you said about Thor." Right. And it's just this whole thing where I'm like, yeah, that was funny then, but not so much anymore. I don't
And
know.
and what's really sad when I think about it, and I know I'm guilty of this myself, things like expressing displeasure by saying, "Oh, that sucks," or "That blows."
Yeah.
For those who are unfamiliar, that actually harks back to male fellatio.
Well,
And
I love the expression that sucks like the mighty Hoover. So now it's a vacuum cleaner.
okay, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Definitely have to add those last words on there.
And do you remember in the 90s? I think it was the 90s, might have been the 2000s. Like they blend together now. Where if you thought something was horrible, you didn't like it. Oh, that's so gay,
Yes,
right? Remember
absolutely,
that?
absolutely.
Yeah,
And then
like there's this cringeworthy scene in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where like someone's talking about, I forget what it was, like a comic or something. And they say that's so gay, and the thing is, the kid doing the part seemed so superficial, like, or not superficial, sorry, self conscious, where he seemed to realize that it's not right that I'm saying this, even though he's supposed to be acting. It seemed, I don't know.
yeah, well, Mark Caesar asked, "Does anybody remember the scene from Crocodile Dundee where he grabs the crotch of a trans woman and says that's a man?" I'm not altogether sure that that was supposed to have been a trans woman. When I saw the film, I thought that was a cis woman who just.
Oh, sorry, I never did. I saw a transvestite. I
You
saw
did?
someone wearing
Okay.
women's clothes that was not necessarily transgender, but I thought, oh yeah, that's definitely a biological male.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I was as surprised as he was. And
Mm.
that's a man, damn it. Well, of course, considering who I was and who I am, yeah, I guess maybe that's part of the reason. Or maybe
What's
I'm just.
funny is like I hadn't seen Crocodile Dundee in a very, very long time, but I found it streaming on one of the services, Netflix, Hulu, whatever, and figured, what the hell? Let's watch it. And you know what? It is not a good movie.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Very formulaic and then rather badly done. And oh well, what are you
But
gonna
the funny
do?
thing is, like when I was growing up in Vermont, right? If you can call it growing up, there was this one tiny, tiny ass movie theater near where I lived. It was just called Cinema 123 because they had three screens, and they showed Crocodile Dundee for a decade. Like seriously, one of their screens was dedicated to Crocodile Dundee, and I don't know why.
Okay. Um, yeah, I guess it was drawing for them or something. Okay, Matthew, the link didn't work. Let me have a look, because yeah, I occasionally would have problems with that. Let me try it again. I know, Kate, you and I ran into some problems with that baby, where it was
Oh
giving
yeah. Oh,
you.
that was horrific.
Yeah, I had. Okay, I'll send it to your. Oh, son of a bitch! I'll have to go to the other machine. Oh, Neil has to send them to your email as well. Okay, excuse me, please. Hang on. I'm still clearing my lungs out, man. It's almost 9 months ago that I quit smoking. Um, okay, I am going to do the web mailer here because my mailer is over on the other machine. One of these lucky people who happens to have two, and I'm still paying for them. Oh, my word. Okay, there we go. And okay, what else? What are you doing, if anything, for Easter?
Who, me?
Yeah,
Not a damn thing.
good.
I'm being here for Easter. I
Yay!
might, if I feel the need, I might go out to the store and buy a Cadbury cream egg. But right now, I don't feel the need.
Okay, now are you planning on going out tomorrow morning?
The hell's tomorrow morning?
Cheap chocolate.
Oh, good point. I didn't even think of that. I don't know. I hadn't really thought of it. I mean, it's amazing that I can even eat chocolate now. But at the same time, the doctors did tell me after the brain surgery not to exercise for 6 months, and so I got to get back my girlish figure. So I might not, I might not want to actually go looking at chocolate right now. I
Oh,
don't know.
come on, Kate. You're just fine the way you are. Shut up, Claudia.
Oh, you have no idea. I mean, you only see me from the chest up on these cameras.
Look, you could be no worse off than I am, okay?
Well, but that's not the point. I have what I know when I looked best, and I want to get back to that.
Oh, I
So,
don't blame
because
you.
I'm now cleared for exercise, I've been playing a metric fuck ton of Spark, which I know I've described before. Amazing virtual reality game. It's like it was made specifically for me. And so, and unless my Gear Fit 2, which is like a Fitbit but made by Samsung, is lying to me, I'm burning more than 1,000 calories for an hour of playing Spark. So,
Wow.
yeah. Oh, this is an aerobic as hell game. I mean, you're ducking and dodging and weaving and throwing, and it's yeah.
Now
I mean,
you've
by the time it's over, you look like you've been swimming. That's how
no.
much of your own filth you're drenched in.
Oh, now you've got me thinking of trying to find the money for a setup like that. Because,
Well, you don't have the room for it. I'm
well,
just
that's the
looking
other
at where
thing.
you live. You would have to get rid of everything.
Okay, and
So,
that's no, I'm not. No, that's off the table. We're not doing that.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and okay, we are going to send. Oh, subject field is empty. Okay, now we're gonna send. Okay, Randall, stand by for it. I finally got it out to you. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it would have been a lot easier with the other mailer, but like I say, the other mailer's on the other machine, and I'm not firing up the other machine. Now I was threatening to dye eggs. I actually went out and bought a couple dozen eggs and some food coloring last night, and I may do it yet. I don't know. We'll find out.
I've never understood how someone is supposed to dye eggs because like at least with the pause set, you get that little wire hanger and you dip the egg in there, but how do you get stripes?
Oh
Right?
man,
Cuz it seems like you're always going to have to dip further and further and you're covering over the bits you already colored. I don't get it.
yeah. There's a trick to all of that. You're doing with a wax crayon to cover areas of the plain egg that you don't want done, and you might actually be doing the wax crayon over the colored areas as well, or you might be dipping it from one end, and then if you do twice, one end and then the other end. I don't know how they do. Maybe they do it with the wax crayon if they do 3 or 4 times, that sort of thing.
I did see a setup once where you actually like put the egg on a spindle and there's this thing that holds like a colored pencil against it and then you can just twirl
Oh,
it like that and then move it, twirl it like that and then move it.
yes, I do believe I remember the ads for that. It was like a lathe, basically.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. And then your little egg was going ning, 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 and you were there with the little pencil and doing the whole thing like that. Yeah, God, you reminded me of that. I'd forgotten all about that one. And the one I have never ever tried and don't have enough confidence to ever try are I forget the native name for them, the Ukrainian eggs. They are
I know next to nothing about the Ukraine.
okay. They are pieces of art. Let me look this up. Ukrainian Easter eggs comes up as the second thing here. Okay, let's find images.
Let's
Yeah, here's a good one.
Korean Easter
Yeah,
egg.
pisanki
Oh,
is.
I see. Okay. Yeah. It seems like a shame to do that on like a hard-boiled egg that's going to go bad eventually.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is that the eggs kept for display and everything else are probably blown out.
Oh, okay. Sure, sure.
Yeah, oh, you are familiar with blowing out eggs, okay.
Sure. I've
Um,
never been successful at it. It's always like it's burst, you know? You try to make everything get expelled out one end and it just cracks the shell on the way out.
yeah, and me, I never had enough force. I ended up blowing my eardrums out.
Hmm.
That was never fun. So I haven't
Well,
done
you could always get your grandmother to suck eggs.
it. Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy.
It's just yeah. Actually, the reason I thought of that was I don't know if you ever watched Ren and Stimpy, but there was the Happy Happy Joy Joy song, and
Yes,
part of that was I'll teach your grandmother to suck eggs. So,
yes. I
yeah.
dearly loved and still do Ren and Stimpy. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yummy and tasty. I don't care how many people thought it was sick and evil and twisted. Um,
Well, Sick and Evil and Twisted is good in entertainment. I mean, I
yeah.
find that indulging your inner psychopath is actually it's actually a good thing in entertainment. I mean, like, okay, there's this show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I did not realize the first time I watched, I hated it, but I didn't realize what they were trying to do. The second time around, when I tried to watch it, I was like, oh, I get it. These characters are the worst people in the world. And you have to indulge your darker side. You have to be ready to look at that and go, oh man, in some ways I'd almost like to do some of the crap they pull, but I mean, they always end up in trouble for it. And I know that doing it in the real world would be bad and everyone would hate me. So let me just live vicariously through these complete assholes.
Mm.
And if you do that, you can appreciate the
Oh, there we
show.
go. Okay, you're still there, Matthew. Did no, you didn't get it. I wonder. Okay, maybe I got the email address wrong. I didn't think I did, but I can try again. No problem with that. Um, yeah, sorry this is taking so long. Yeah, I. Oh man, I have the DVD set somewhere here, and I also have the follow-ons, the sequels that Chris Felucci did with. Was it? It was one of the not for kids cable networks.
I don't know.
Okay, they yeah, this was some of the stuff that was too sick for Nickelodeon.
Well, I mean, okay, not so much a Nickelodeon show, but I'm still amazed at how much they got away with on Animaniacs.
Okay, yeah.
You know, like the whole fingerprints joke. I don't know if you know that one,
No, I
where
don't.
like Yakko is a detective and they're trying to figure out like solve a mystery. And Yakko says, "Go looking for Prince," and Dot shows up with Prince, the actor, in her arms,
Okay.
and Yakko's like, "No, no, no, fingerprints." And Dot looks in the camera and goes, "I don't think so." The number of things they got away with like that were just so overtly sexual jokes. I mean, it was just yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that stuff got on air. I really am.
Yeah, and yeah, especially for kids and shit like that. Okay. Um, maybe I don't know. Maybe they said, okay, it's Spielberg. We can just do it. You know what the hell?
Maybe I don't know.
What I want to find here. We're gonna compose another. thing. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to recheck this thing 4 or 5 times. Okay, wait a minute. No, I needed that number in there. No, I'm not doxing you. I'm not sending your email out there. I've run into
So, whoever the Hades this is in the hood, you haven't said anything. Come on, quit being such a mute.
Yeah, hi there.
Well, y'all didn't really introduce me, or not
Oh,
really
just jump
introduce.
in.
Well, this is
See
the
y'all.
Bible Belt Atheist. Hello, hello.
Hey,
Oh, well, you get all 10 seconds of the applause.
Mhm.
I'm gonna get used to running this board one of these days. Really. Okay, and it's a Gmail address. I can say that on the air.
Yeah. Now, I remember last time when we were trying to get this whole thing set up, and it was just redirect notice after redirect notice after redirect notice, until finally the browser gave up and would not let me into the live stream.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I found out, I don't know, did I explain it to you or I forget? I actually had to edit the link that it told me to use, take some stuff out of it in order for you to be able to use it. Weird. Okay, we're going to hit the send button. Okay. Matthew, just stand by and check. I'm going to leave the mailer up this time because Eris knows if it's going to work or not. I hope it does. The more the merrier around here. BBA, how's your Easter? What you up to?
not a whole lot right now. My grandparents are going to be coming over later on today.
Oh,
Other than that,
boy.
I mean, just yeah. Other than that, I'm just sitting here on the live stream vaping. That's about it. Listening to y'all.
See, now you make me want to have a couple of my edibles.
Okay, you lucky one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
that's a great
they
idea,
had
Sloth Girl.
They had a special, so I bought a bunch of gummies. It's actually, we have this thing called Ease here, where it's a lot like Lyft or Uber, except they deliver like marijuana straight to your home in about 15 minutes. It's crazy.
I like that.
Yeah.
I am just curious. What is the price of marijuana out there?
It depends what you're after, but it's kind of spendy. Like the actual product itself, not so much, but California taxes the fuck out of it. So like a $30 order can turn into 45 easily.
Okay, okay. Now the $30 order, what that gets you high once or?
Oh gosh, no.
Oh,
No,
good.
no,
Oh,
no.
good.
No, you get a supply.
Okay.
I mean,
Good.
like I say, these are edibles, and this is after having used a fair amount of it already. Like that's about half of what's in a container. And I bought 3 of them for like $45 when they were on sale. So
Okay, fine.
Wow.
and these are different types. Like this one tends to make people feel sleepy. For some reason, this one makes people creative. And this one makes people, I don't know how to describe it exactly. Like if there's such a thing as, I don't know, energetically lethargic, these do it. It's like
Okay.
these make you happier and you sort of bliss out, but at the same time, you don't want to do much.
Hi, Matthew. Yay! Oh, man. Where did the messages end up? In the spam folder?
The one where you got the address right did end up in the spam folder, but that's all right. I was able to
Oh,
check it.
so I screwed up the address the first time?
Probably,
Okay.
but the second one you sent, it ended up going to my spam, and I just unclicked it as not spam, so it showed up in my inbox, and then I could click it. So.
Yay! That's a
Yay!
good thing.
Are you in an airplane?
Yeah, that's what I was
am.
wondering.
I'm in my truck.
Oh,
Oh,
I drive for Schrader Moving Systems United Van Lines out of Waukesha, Wisconsin.
okay.
Right now, I'm in a rental truck because my truck was in the shop in Jackson, Georgia.
Oh
mm,
boy.
Well,
So
Uh,
my
yeah,
my first thought was definitely airplane.
yeah, I thought
yeah,
the same.
definitely.
It certainly looked commercial aircraft.
it's
Yeah.
that's actually curtain to my
Oh.
very small sleeper back here.
Because
Well,
the
part of it was also the color scheme looks
yeah,
very air.
Yeah.
and the
It's
view over your left shoulder toward the
yeah,
window looked
it's
like an aircraft window. You know, like a
And the
seven
seat,
seven seven.
the
Yeah.
seat looks like an aircraft seat, like an airplane seat. Like I'm sitting down getting peanuts and being told to buckle my seatbelt.
welcome aboard, flight 777. I am
Right.
your captain.
So is that
Speaking of which, I'm going to be flying to Texas in a couple of days to go to Faithless Forum. So if you want to meet my dumb butt,
Cool.
that's the place to
Oh
go.
man, I wish I could get down there. And
I
no, you're
wish I
not
could
the
go
only
too.
reason I wish I could get down there. But uh, yeah, it's. I'm hoping. I'm crossing my fingers that I can get to Kentucky.
Mm,
We'll see how that works. You know, for the incest and genocide protest.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, I'm glad it's a protest. I thought you were going to say it was a convention.
That's hilarious.
and
Oh, I'm sure there's a convention like that somewhere.
because I would really, really, dearly, dearly love to meet Aaron,
What is
which I guess he has already said. I think he is showing up, and if Seth shows up there, I'd love to meet him. I've worked with Aaron a couple of times, and I've been on Seth's show a few times. And the amazing thing about Seth, the second time I called into his show was, at least a year after the first time, and he remembered me. He knew who the hell I was, and that just amazes the crap out of me.
Well, I've
Well,
gotten him to do some voiceover stuff for some of my like outros and things.
Yes, I have noticed.
That was pretty cool. So I don't know if you noticed me whip my head around, but something just arrived from Amazon. So I want to see what it is.
What
Open
did
it. Let's see what it is.
did the drone fly into your window?
No, I just heard a knock, 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 and saw someone walking past. So I didn't think they would deliver on Sunday, much less Easter Sunday.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, yay! It's my T-shirt.
Yay!
Let's see it.
Okay. Well, it's funny. Before the show actually started, I was talking to Diana about how I'm playing a lot of Fallout 4. So it's a Vault Tech T-shirt. You see, if anyone is a
Cool.
big old fan of that game series, you'll know what Vault Tech is. If you're not, well, you should be, and there's something wrong with you for not having played it. So yeah.
Oh, this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Yay. Um, yeah, you talk about t-shirts. Oh, I talked to Matt earlier. Maddie, sorry. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Anyway, I still do it from time to time. That I'd like to have at least one t-shirt made, with free to good home across the front with the two O's of good, the lesbian symbol. Uh,
Mhm.
like that would
Yeah.
work, I know. Okay, there's the thing. I know I'm fighting an uphill battle here because I'm old, fat, ugly, trans,
No,
hyper
you're
intelligent,
not
and
ugly.
poor. Emphasis on poor.
You're not ugly. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, by how many people have informed me that I'm ugly. It just seems to be a thing that, like, if someone doesn't like your content, they're gonna say that you're ugly.
I've seen some of the comments made toward you, and it makes me want to cry. Yeah, I mean, number one, I don't agree, and number two, they're not the kind of comments a decent person would make anyway.
Well, I mean, I guess if you don't have arguments to make, you got to attack the person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I've had that
So,
happen to me when I'm dealing with theists. I had one theist attack me because they didn't have a valid point, and so they started saying, attacking my appearance and about especially my facial hair or whatever, saying that it literally looked like I had turds on my face, and I'm like, really? That's all you have is just personal insults? I have not personally insulted you at all, but you're gonna sit there and say I have shit on my face? Really? Are you that, are you that retarded, or just
well, and
Yeah.
I've
and they
never thought that like chin pubes on someone looks like shit. I mean, like spider
shit
legs
pubes.
maybe, but not fecal matter.
Yeah, chin
Mm-hmm.
pubes. I find that hilarious.
Okay, and I don't remember if you had asked earlier. I'm going to try to get I never get the pronunciation right here. Triadiol, I think. Yeah, can't remember if you had asked about joining or not. I just sent you a link. Let's get the more the merrier here going. Um, and of course, Purple, you've got one as well, and Sloth Girl, you've got one if you care to use them. Yay! 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 Yay!
Yay.
Um, the two big things I guess working against me are old and poor. Because what's really interesting in this neighborhood, anyway, I don't know about generally, the people seem to think that entertainment consists of one sort of thing, which is going to the local sports bar, getting smashed off their arses, and screaming, "Go Steelers!"
Uh,
Uh,
aren't you in Michigan?
I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Oh, Pittsburgh. That's right.
Yeah,
I
Hmm.
and
spend a, I deliver a lot over there, over in that area for whatever reason.
yeah,
A lot
it's
of
well, I'm picky when it comes to someone I want to spend time with. I mean, the
right.
first thing is I've got to be able to have a conversation with this woman. Um, the whole bit is whenever I see somebody who's rather comely or something like that, it would be okay. What's she like when she opens her mouth? Um,
Wow, did my brain go somewhere horrible?
I knew it would.
That's hilarious.
But no, and I need someone to tell me, no, Kate, no, when I'm attracted to somebody, because my taste in women is so bad. I mean, so bad.
Well,
Because,
define
well,
bad.
I mean, I'm sure some of the people here are sick of hearing the horror story, but there was the alcoholic junkie whose life I had to save after she passed out story. Um,
Holy crap.
Passed out and stopped breathing, I mean. So, yeah. And then there was, like, for some reason, I seem to just be attracted to people with chemical abuse problems, even before I know they have them. It's like, I don't know. Like the girl I dated after the one who was on crack is an ex-alcoholic, and I didn't know that when I started thinking, oh my gosh, what a hottie. But well, so I need someone who can say to me, Kate, I know you think she's hot, but you need to stay away from that one. She'll destroy you like the others. So
Maybe you have that thing deep down inside you where, like, in your subconscious, where maybe I can change her or something.
no, it's not that. It's more, hey, she looks like Tank Girl.
Okay, okay.
Kind of acts like it too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that if I could find that chick who has that awesome punk look about her, but who doesn't come with all the extra baggage, I don't know. I don't know. I need someone who can edit my tastes a little.
I need someone whose IQ is definitely over room temperature. I would like to say close to the Fahrenheit boiling point of water. Um, but that's another story entirely. Who was I saying this to? It was just a little while ago too. The kind of person I would really like to spend some time with is the kind of person who could sit with me atop a hill on a very dark night and watch the stars. Okay?
Oh,
Mhm.
which stars are we talking? Like Hollywood stage music? What?
No, we're talking about that stuff up there.
Oh,
Like the constellations and maybe a nice meteor shower if the time is right and that sort of thing. I never was the kind for the bars and the clubs, that sort of thing. And
Hmm.
well, now I can't afford them. Um, it's it's just a communication thing, is what I'm after.
well, it depends on the bar or the club. I mean, when I was in Seattle, like I'm not goth, but I went to a goth club called the Mercury. And Seattle goths are completely different from goths anywhere else because I went with some friends to a goth bar in Phoenix, and it was so different because the Merc is just laid back and it's not very packed, and the music is loud, but not so loud you can't have a conversation, and it's just a really just great place to be. And everyone there, most of them are actually geeks who want to be scary instead of nerdy, and that's all it is. If you wear black, you'll fit in, right? But like this place in Phoenix was all like the first person we saw was dressed like someone out of Interview with the Vampire, and he's like looking out at us from under his eyebrows, going, "I am a creature of the night," and it's just like, whoa, dude, just take it down a notch. But a place like the Mercury is a good club for me. But now that I'm in San Diego and every club is, there's a line that takes an hour to get through just to get in. And if you shift like 3 inches to the left or right, you're like jostling someone's drink, and the music is really loud that you could be saying any damn thing and it won't matter because they can't hear you. And I'm just like, this is so not my scene. I was spoiled by everything. I often say I was spoiled by Seattle because the transportation system is better. It's a pedestrian friendly town. The bars and clubs are better. And if I could have survived the weather, I'd still be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear many, many much good things about that area, but I also hear that it is a temperate rainforest, and I
Oh,
hear.
it's worse than that. It's overcast is what it is. Like I could handle rain. If it was real rain, I could handle it. But you get this sort of misty drizzle, and it's constantly overcast with these bright, stark, harsh white clouds that makes you feel like you're under fluorescent lighting all the
Oh
time. And
boy.
it's just it's a
Ugh.
horrible place to live for the weather, but the culture and the city itself is so nice.
I had to spend a week in that area because I had like multiple drops in like Kent and stuff like that, and then I had to go pick up in Seattle. And there was only like 1 or 2 days where the sun actually shined, and I'm from Nebraska, and so it was weird because when the sun came out, it was almost like, oh, whoa, what is this bright stuff?
Mm.
Oh,
It was
what is the name of that short science fiction story? It was one of the major writers.
Oh,
Um,
I know the one you're talking
yes,
about.
where the sun comes out like once a century or some shit like that.
And there were all these kids in like a bomb shelter or something.
Uh, y-
And
yeah, the what was it? The one girl knew
mhm,
about the sun coming out, and the other kids were making fun of her and everything. Locked her in a closet, and then the
mhm,
sun comes out, and they're all like, "Yay, yay!" They're all playing, and they totally forget about her. So
right.
she misses the sun out for I don't know how long it is, 10 years or whatever it was. Yeah, uh-huh.
They made that into a short film at one point, and I saw it before I ever knew it was something that had been written. And I remember like just because that the girl, she saw that little line of sunlight in the closet that
Oh
went
my
under the
god.
door, and when all the kids finally let her out, she's like, you saw the sun. Like, and that just haunted me for years. Just that sort of despairing, like sound in her voice. I remember that distinctly.
That I am not ashamed to say that would have me in tears for the rest of the week.
Mm. Yeah,
Easily.
no, I remember exactly what you're talking about. I also remember distinctly, like, because the kids weren't getting the, what is it, vitamin D that the sun gives you.
Yeah.
There was like this scene where they're in bathing suits, standing in front of these bright white panels, and they have to just like stand there for an hour or two every day to absorb this artificial sunlight. I remember that distinctly too.
And the prospect of that just seems really sad. I mean,
Yeah, and then my mind goes to peoples who would eventually make a trip to Mars, let's say, cooped up in a titanium can for months and months and months. Um, I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could deal with it.
Mm.
I mean, it's hard enough over here because we get a lot of overcast skies. We do get a decent number of beautiful blue skies, but this time of year there's so much overcast and it affects the mood definitely. Um, when the actual sun comes out and the skies are blue and everything, I can feel it. It's like that. I'm very very light sensitive that way.
Yeah, I hated the fact that Friday threw me off so badly because it had rained all day and that makes me instantly tired.
Oh boy.
So I was like, I could just curl up with Elmer for like, 2 hours or something, set an alarm. I woke up about half an hour before movie night began.
See, I know I've mentioned it before, but I was raised in Vermont with a big view of Lake Champlain and the Adirondack Mountains. And whenever the rain would start, and we'd get these amazing lightning shows, and I don't know, I just love that. Like it doesn't energize me exactly, but it awakens something in my head that gives me not physical kinetic energy, but it's still energy, if that makes sense. I don't know how to
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I wish as a Floridian that rain did not make me feel that way because I'm basically dead during the summer and dead during December because it rains every single day during the summer. You can set your watch
I
by
was going
it.
to say it's basically the same time of day every day, isn't it?
Yeah, usually around 2 or 3. You can set your watch. Fortunately, it's a short storm, but it still is enough to make me tired. And if it lasts long enough, I can't fight the tiredness anymore and I wind up going to sleep. But December is terrible because it's also slightly chillier. I wouldn't say it's cold, but it's slightly chillier, and then it rains consistently 4 or 5 times throughout the day during December. If it doesn't rain on Christmas, there's something wrong.
Okay.
Like I don't want rain on Christmas, but I look around, I'm like, what? This is not how Christmas usually goes. Why is it not raining?
Is that in specific parts of Florida or all of Florida?
I'm not sure. Because I live very close to the coast. I'm about an hour away from the beach.
Right. Well, I mean, because typical to like the stereotype, my grandparents moved to Florida when they got old enough to justify it. And whenever I would visit them, it didn't rain at all. So I'm just wondering if
Yeah.
I know it was always in winter because I was raised in Vermont, so we're getting the hell away from this cold. And I don't know if it was just the part of Florida we were in or the time of year or what, but it never rained.
North or South Florida?
I don't know. Where is Stewart, Florida?
I don't really know either. I'm not as up on my geography as far as that goes.
Give me a minute. Do you remember how these?
Like I know obviously where places like Miami and Tampa and, all the major hubs are, but
Okay,
Okay.
there we go.
Stewart is right the hell on the coast. It's I want to say middle of well, it's a little south. It's sort of north of West Palm Beach and Jupiter, and just south of Fort Pierce and Port St. Lucie.
Yeah,
okay,
it looks
yeah.
like it's halfway between the Cape and the Keys.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm not sure why that would be different. Like I said, I've lived in this particular area pretty much most of my life. I'd say I'd spend maybe about 6 years out of my 34 not in the city that I'm living in and not in the house that I'm living in. So I don't know how the weather patterns are different necessarily in a different part of Florida.
Okay.
I just come up from Florida. I had 2 drops and 2 pickups. I had a drop in Miami and a drop in Gainesville, and then I had a pickup in Miami Gardens, and I don't remember where the hell the other one was, but it just randomly rained like cats and dogs. Going up
Yeah,
95.
we had a major storm. Well, they called it a major storm. It seemed to be a major storm for everybody else, but where I was at, we didn't even lose power, which is not typical. We sometimes lose power just having regular thunderstorms, so I was kind of happy about that because usually when we lose power, we lose it for about 2-3 days.
Damn.
Ouch.
There was a huge storm. They told us that we'd have wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour, but that didn't happen here. So
Wow.
yeah, Gainesville isn't really too far away from me. I'd say Gainesville's probably about an hour and 15 minutes away from where I'm at.
Cool.
So
I know one thing that was kind of wacky, like a month or two ago, we actually had hail here in San Diego. Like I started hearing these ticks against my windows. I'm like, that doesn't sound like rain. I looked out and there were these little tiny ice balls everywhere. And I was like, but this is Southern California. I moved here for it to be 72 degrees Fahrenheit year round, damn it.
okay,
Well, it doesn't have to be below freezing to get hail, if you remember.
Still, it shouldn't be hailing in Southern California.
I have nowhere near as much hail as I remember when I was young. When I was a kid, there would be hail quite often. This was in Cleveland, but I don't know if it's the geography or if it's the climate. I just don't see hail anymore.
I mean, I hadn't seen it in years until this winter.
In Nebraska, we get plenty of hail and all that crap that everybody doesn't get, including tornadoes and stuff like that. So
Well, you get Nolan Ryan hail, don't you? About the size of a baseball.
sometimes, yeah, we've seen them. Sometimes a little bit bigger. My pickup in our Tahoe got nailed with hail, and we had an adjuster come out and say, "Yeah, you don't want me to total this thing out. You know what? I'm just going to cut you a check, and then you can do whatever you want with it because it looked like you got some pretty." It got bad enough to where it started knocking limbs off of trees.
Oh wow.
Damn.
Yeah,
ouch.
so it was awful.
Yeah, I don't know that we really get hail. I do think this past winter, I think there was a snow day, but the thing about snow is once it hits the ground where I'm at, it doesn't stay snow for any length of time. It just turns to mush.
Yeah.
The sad fact is that nobody knows how to drive when that happens.
They
I,
like shut the whole state
Yeah.
down like they do in South Carolina.
Oh my gosh. And I'm just like, dude, y'all, it's just mush.
Well,
It's
I mean,
not even
try
real
living in
snow.
Vermont then, because you'll get 3-4 feet of snow sometimes, and everybody
Oh, yeah.
knows how to drive in it because they live in frickin' Vermont. So
Yeah, and like I said, it turns immediately to mush. Like it melts almost automatically. So I don't even understand the problem. People just freak out. They're like, "It's snowing outside. We're all gonna die." And I'm like, "Guys, what is wrong with y'all? I don't
well,
understand."
Well,
people don't know how to drive in the rain here either in San Diego. I mean, they don't, and weirdly, they don't know how to do it in Seattle either. And a lot of people think that's because people from California come up to work at Microsoft or Amazon, and they don't know how to drive in the rain. And so,
Yeah.
so Seattle is really a horrible city for rain driving, and you wouldn't think it, but
Well, it's similar here. It's like it rains all the time here. Not constantly, but enough where you'd be like, all right, you should have some experience driving in the rain, and nobody knows how to drive in the rain.
Well, that's just like every winter in Nebraska. We get the same, as Vermont, 4 or 5 feet or, snow. And for whatever reason, everybody seems to forget how to drive. And so the first snow of the year, you just go down any highway and you're going to see trucks and cars in the ditches. And I'm like, really? Really?
okay,
Okay.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
memories of it was a really, really, really cold winter. And I don't know where we got the idea that this was a good thing, but my entire family, with my dad behind the wheel, drove our car out onto Lake Champlain, and we're spent a couple hours doing skids and twirling around and shit. It was a lot of fun, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, we were so stupid.
now, wait a minute.
What-
When you say really, really, really cold, are you talking the boiling point of helium?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure my age was in the double digits yet, so I don't know. But it was cold enough that you could apparently drive a car out onto the lake and it was okay.
Wow.
That's below zero. That's really below zero.
And it's
there.
way down
Yeah.
there because I remember the stories. I'd never seen it myself, but the stories about people driving from island to island in Lake Erie, where you would have a foot of ice,
Mhm.
over the lake. Which by the time I was a kid, that wasn't happening because the lake was so damn polluted. I'm getting the stories now that it's getting a lot better with the ice, if you want to call it, but a lot thicker with the ice, and can actually do some ice skating out there and everything else because the damn steel mill's closed and all the the other things like that. But oh well.
Yeah.
Well, here, oh my God, I fucking hate my school because my school literally has this thing where if it starts to rain, then we get out of school like a half hour early on what they call a rain dismissal.
What?
And
Where
it
do you live?
North Carolina.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah, we have rain dismissals, and there was one time I remember last school year where we got out a half hour early on rain dismissal, and it never even rained.
You're probably on the way home going, this is really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I do have some vague memories about being released from school because the snow was heavy enough they didn't think the buses could get us home if we were dismissed on
Yeah.
the actual dismissal time. What is it, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
3:15
I
to
do
3:30, yeah.
have vague memories of that happening.
Well,
Go ahead,
Like-
Bible.
like with me, because my school isn't like a regular public school. It is a public school, but it's a charter school. So we don't have buses. So everybody who rides or everybody who goes there either is a car rider, drives themselves, or like me, I walk. So, it's the whole rain dismissal thing just really pisses me off because it's so stupid.
I was only released early from school once that I remembered, and while everybody else was kind of partying because they're like, "Yay, we're getting out of school early," I'm like, "Okay, I am a junior in high school, and we've never had an early release due to weather. We're all going to die."
All right.
I was just like, I'm taking my ass home. I am barricading myself in a fortress. We're all going to die.
We
And
were.
the weather pattern projected it, and the hurricane hit, I believe it was New Orleans instead.
Hmm.
I can't remember the name of the hurricane, but
Katrina?
yeah, it was Katrina. Originally, I think it was supposed to come for us, but it went for New Orleans instead.
Mm.
Yeah, they probably
Okay.
looked at Florida and go, "They have enough problems as it is. We'll go ahead. We'll go hit New Orleans."
Well, okay, where I'm at, we actually don't ever hardly get hit straight on. It usually redirects a little bit due to the currents. So, like, the projected path was like, it's coming straight for where you're living. It's coming straight for you. You're not going to be able to escape it. It's going to be like a Cat 4, which is when it lands, and you're going to be getting the outskirts of the Cat 4. And we're like, this never happens to us. I think we're due for a direct hit within the next couple of years, but honestly, my city has not had a direct hit in probably about 40 years now.
Wow.
Okay.
So
Then.
when they were like, "We're sending you all home, we might be a direct hit," of course, the teenagers, everybody's like, "Party," and I'm going, no.
No, we're all gonna die. Oh my god.
Well, that is the time to party, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you know the world's about to end, go out with a bang.
There
I'm
you
not
are.
a partier. I'm a little bit boring, but
Now we toughed it out in the Cleveland area in northern Ohio. We got a decent amount of snow, all that other stuff, and I remember one day, and it was a good thing, and I only had about 3 blocks to walk, but I was walking home from high school, and something like a 40-mile-an-hour wind. That was interesting. You
Wow.
take one step forward, 3 steps back, and you're walking backwards because it's more comfortable to have the wind hitting your back than it is nailing you in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the place I used to go rollerblading in Seattle was much better, but San Diego has a place. It's the Silver Strand, it's called, and it's pretty nice, but it's right on the coast. I mean, right on the coast. So sometimes the wind is pretty bad. But the thing is, it's pretty bad on the way back, right? Where it's at your back when you start. And now you have to turn around and you're really tired already, and you have to go back to where you started, except you're against the wind now. And so, coupled with already tired, that sucks. So, yeah.
Nebraska recently got hit with what I think is their first hurricane. Yeah, right in the middle of the United States. It brought on one side, torrential rain, and on the other side, a blizzard. So I'm sure y'all heard about the flooding and stuff in Nebraska. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was because of our inland hurricane. It come up through Colorado and stuff, and just kind of hovered over Nebraska.
Dare I say biblical proportions?
Oh yeah, it was awful. We were not prepared for that at all. And I was out on the road at the time. I picked up the load. It was that multi-drop load going out to basically the Seattle area, and it was just because no one could leave. See, I live in Columbus, and nobody could leave because US 81 going north and south and US 30 going east and west were closed off. Towns were just being flooded and wiped out. It was awful, and my family lives there, and I couldn't do anything. I felt so helpless and sad. But things are looking better, so things are getting reconstructed and all that good stuff. But it's just odd. At first, you see that stuff on Facebook where they say, "Oh, a hurricane's going to hit Nebraska," and you're like, "Yeah, right. We're right in the center of the United States. There's no fucking way." And then all of a sudden, it's happening. We're like, "What the hell?" I
Yeah.
guess the climate change thing is a real thing,
Oh
Well,
man, I was
Yeah,
thinking
kinda.
about it the other day. You remember that one Congress dude, the right wing guy, tried to disprove climate change with a snowball.
Oh,
You remember that
that
guy?
fuckhead. Yeah,
That doesn't
Oh
make
my
any
God.
sense. Yeah, that guy's an idiot.
I mean, for one, he doesn't understand the difference between climate and weather,
Yeah,
Mm.
and isolated incidents wouldn't mean anything anyway.
right. But yet these are also
Yeah.
theists too that think that with any weird one-off catastrophe that the world is going to end or whatever, and you're like, you guys are stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I really learned a lot last week when I had Lilith Liberated on. Shout out. Where she kind of clarified a few things for me. Where it's not exactly stupidity. It's very sad,
Yeah.
but you've got some people who are otherwise rational believing this horribly stupid shit because they've been indoctrinated to do so.
Yeah, it's the only thing they can believe because as a child they were, it was so ingrained into their thinking that, and just like my transition from being Catholic to atheist, the transition is really hard because your cognitive dissonance kicks in, on things that you
Yeah.
were taught to believe that you still can't believe. Like mine started out, like I'll give you an example. Mine started out in 2014. We watched some videos on how like Jesus's story isn't unique to history, that there's like 5 other deities that had basically the same life, death, and resurrection as Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to watching this, and I'm like, and I was still Catholic, and I'm like, oh, there ain't no way. Holy cow. And then that just sparked, well, what if this is true? And so I was on a mission to find what the truth is, and especially after listening to people like Bart Ehrman and Dr. Richard Carrier, they spend their lives going through history and letting us know what the truth actually is. And now it doesn't even surprise me. It used to kind of surprise me, but now I'm just like, well, now I have more ammo against the theists. So yeah, it's just all in what you believe. Yeah,
That whole idea of truth with a capital T is just abhorrent to me.
it is.
Because to say that there is one way and only one way to view life, the universe, and everything, it's a little presumptuous for one.
Absolutely.
And it's okay, adaptability is one of the things I kind of prize, and that is not adaptable.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
and the thing is that when you do it that way, you also create a pathway where you cannot criticize.
Uh-huh.
Because that was the big thing. You can do a lot of horrible shit in the Mormon church, but the
So
moment
I
you
hear.
criticize any of it, if you make enough waves while criticizing, you will be excommunicated for nothing else other than you are being critical.
Yeah, they don't want
Yeah.
you to ask questions or anything. They don't want you to look up any others. So they're kind of like Jehovah Witnesses, where
Yeah.
you're not allowed to look at secular knowledge for anything. You have specific websites you can go to and look up the information that they
Well,
deem that you
yeah.
need.
Well, when you teach people intensely, and when I say intensely, I mean like it grows in intensity depending on age. But from the time I was born, church services for Mormonism used to be 3 hours every Sunday.
Oh, holy crap!
Oh man.
And I
They're
bitch about Christmas.
Yeah, and the thing is that like that's just for like the little kids. When you hit teenage years, you have an hour of scripture study before school every day. You have the
Jeez.
3 hours. You have temple trips, which depending on where you live, can last all day basically. That are like I think twice a two to it's 2 to 4 times a year. I've been out for a while. I don't remember. Then you had Wednesday night meetings, or in my case, they were Wednesday night. It's different night of the week depending on who's using the building. But I'd have an hour and a half of young women's activity, and then there would be firesides at least once a month, and then dances at least every other month. Now the
You have
They
dances
let you
were
dance.
not.
What was it, at arm's length?
Yeah, no
Yeah.
shit. Make room
See,
for
the reason I
Jesus.
count dances is because even though they weren't indoctrinating us, it was yet another thing keeping you at church instead of like being out and interacting with non-members.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that the intensity, and then they tell you that they're telling you the truth, and they're telling you the whole truth, and they continually tell you that they're not, that they're telling you the truth, they're being honest with you, and then you get online and you find out all of the things that they didn't tell you, and it's like you had like thousands of hours of opportunities to tell me, and you knew,
Well, yeah,
and
but
now
they're
you
not
wonder
gonna.
why I'm angry and leave and don't want to have anything to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not gonna tell you that your fearless leader Joseph Smith and his dad were con men.
They're also not going to tell you that he had 30 to 40 wives, that the Urim and Thummim that he supposedly used was actually the rock from the well that he put into a hat. Like anybody who tells you that's Mormon, who tells you that they believe in the rock and the hat, they either were looking at something they shouldn't have been looking at, or they're lying about knowing about it to your face so that they don't have to admit that they didn't know.
No, aren't
Okay.
they referred to as seer stones?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
referred to as seer stones, which
Sounds
actually
like something out of Harry Potter.
No shit.
maybe that's why so many Mormons are Harry Potter fans.
Wow, that's the sort of thing I would have thought would be forbidden.
It depends on the household. In my house it was forbidden, but because
Okay.
Are you okay?
We
light's on.
lost you,
Oh.
Shauna.
It looked like she hit her mute button accidentally. I saw the little mute icon.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you mute yourself? You might want to take a look at that. As long as you can
See-
still hear us.
See, Lavender, even your cat's suspicious.
Yeah. I don't know here.
He's like, this is bullshit. I'm leaving. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
There you go.
She dropped out.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was a connection thing. You know, I hope it was that simple. And maybe we'll get her back or something like that.
For some reason, I thought that Joseph Smith didn't have rocks. I thought they were like golden plates or something.
Well, yeah, that's how he
Tablets.
translated the Book of Mormon, was through these golden plates, but he used these seer stones he stuck them down at the bottom of the hat and translated them that supposedly that way.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Okay.
golden plates supposedly contain the information that is in the Book of Mormon, which is actually like a bastardized version of the New Testament or something like that.
Oh yeah, what is it you're covering? The visit of Jesus Christ to the Americas? Some
Yeah.
crap
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Can you
They
guys hear me now?
Yeah, you're loud
yeah,
and
we can
clear.
hear
Okay.
you.
I hit my mic.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry. I just
Oh,
want to make
no.
sure y'all could hear me.
It's all right. And now the Jesus visiting the Americas, that was from what I gathered was it Jesus had these golden plates buried in Palmyra, New York, and then he sent.
No, he didn't have them. They were buried in Palmyra supposedly, but the thing is that Jesus didn't command it necessarily. It was just where the last person happened to be, so he buried the plates there. And of course, the plates were found in Joseph's backyard, practically. And nothing fishy with that at all,
Yep.
or fishy with the fact that the story that he told about it was, oh well, I used to use this stone I found in the well to go treasure hunting, and every time I went treasure hunting, the treasure would be moved by a Native American, and and so I used the same stone to translate these plates that happened to be in my backyard, who were protected for 3 years by a dead Native American turned angel. And I'm not turning this story at all.
Well,
It's
and then
not
when
a
people
thing.
wanted,
Okay, this
people wanted
sounds.
to see. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is basically a 19th century L. Ron Hubbard.
Pretty much.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then when people wanted to see the golden plates, they're like, okay, well, let's see these golden plates that you translated the Book of Mormon into. Oh, no, you can't, because I had to rebury them, and now they're gone. So, haha.
Uh-huh.
Seems
Convenient.
so weird that they would be buried in the first place. I mean, what a strange way of safekeeping your valuables,
Well, technically, the story is that the guy buried the last person who wrote in the plates, buried them for future generations to find, because he was the last person left and he was about to die. So, yeah,
So I mean, why wouldn't they just have built some sort of shrine or temple to big neon sign, "Here be ye plates" or something? It is weird.
Yeah, there you go.
It like I said, it was all. The thing is that, like, if I had been presented with that information, I don't know what I would have done with it if I had been a kid. But the Mormon Church makes sure you only see and hear, for as long as they can get away with, the information they want you to see. So, like, to me, I was like, oh, okay, so some old dude buried the plates, and this is like the coolest thing ever, and it's nice to have a Jesus story for us here in the Americas. And then I grew up and I was just like, holy fuck,
Well,
what in the world did they have me believing?
What I find is rare.
Well, I'm just gonna interject right quick. I gotta go because my grandpa's coming to pick me up to go hang out with them for Easter.
Well, great having you here, sweetness.
Yeah.
And
Fun. Don't get run over.
See you later.
All right. See y'all.
My, oh my, oh my, oh my. Yeah, what really, I don't know, makes me wonder is at the very beginning, when Joe Smith came up with this whole tablets and the seer stones and everything else, why was no one getting suspicious then?
Because oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because it's a novel story now, so there's no indoctrination to rely on. And it's like, I don't know.
Well, part of it was the time period. A lot of new religious American sects were being built at that time because there was a big revival going on of Christian beliefs. Also, the the story that they went with, where the Jews came over from Israel, the story that he used for that is actually based on something called the View of the Hebrews. Now, I don't know if that was an extremely popular idea at that time or if it was just one that was running around well enough for Joseph to run off with. But Oliver Cowdery was a good friend of his, and Oliver Cowdery's pastor was actually the one who wrote View of the Hebrews. So they took some of the ideas from that and used it to write the Book of Mormon. And again, this is information that, most Mormons don't know. I only know because I only knew before I left because I went looking.
Okay.
But and also the seer stones, again, I don't know how popular it was, but I do know that other people were claiming to do similar things at that time and using seer stones for anything from treasure hunting to, looking to getting revelations to all kinds of different.
Oh,
Yeah.
so this wasn't necessarily a novel concept.
No.
Okay.
There was a lot of stuff going on at that time that we look back and we're like, okay, that's all weird. But there was this weird mix of, taking folk magic and intersecting it with Christianity during that time period.
Okay.
Joseph was just basically taking pop trends or whatever he felt like, was familiar enough and throwing it all in and just seeing what stuck. Because there's a little bit of Egyptology in there. There's a little bit of Native Americanism in there. There's a little bit of Jewish stuff in there. There's a little bit of folk magic. There's
don't forget the planets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff. If Mormon missionaries come to my door and try to sell me on Mormonism, and then they say, "Oh, when you die, you get your own planet and your own people to rule over," I would have been like, "All right, you gotta go. I just got stupider from listening to what you just got done saying. Get out of my house."
Well, but I can do all of that. I just do it with a video game.
There you go.
Yeah. And in my case, what's sad is I grew up with that. I grew up and it was like, when you grow up, if you do really well and you get married and you do all of the rules, you and your husband will get to create universes and fill them up with people, and won't that be great? And I thought that was cool. I was like, I could create my own universe with less of this stupidity.
When you're a kid, when you think that, it sounds great, but as an adult or a free thinker, you're like, what the fuck?
Well, and then I hit Young Women's, which is like the girls program from 12 to 18, and I started listening, and I started asking the question. I was like, wait, okay, you told me that we get to create worlds, but now you're telling me that my job is to create all the babies. And so I asked about it, and they were like, "No, you create the babies." I'm like, "Well, what? No, this is not what I was promised. I was promised I would be able to create my own world. Now, granted, my husband would have to, do it. It's a joint. To me, it was a joint thing. Like, it wasn't me on my own. And it wasn't him on his own, but then they're like, no, it's him on his own. You just make the babies. I'm like,
So not only for your
No.
natural life, you get to spend barefoot and pregnant, but for your eternal life, you get to spend barefoot and pregnant too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
just goes to
What-
show
what I-
women's. Go ahead.
Well, what I want to know is how they ended up with the name Mormon, because as I understand it, it had something to do with an angel being named Moroni or something, which is weird because it's not Moroni or Mormai or anything. I mean, it's Moroni, which makes me think they should be called morons, but I'm just wondering,
If you
I'm
take
just wondering
the
how
M
they
out,
settled on that particular name.
if you take the M out of the middle, it does do morons, and a lot of people on the ex-Mormon Reddit actually type it that way on purpose. But the Book of Mormon, I think what happened with that is the book itself is called the Book of Mormon, and one of the characters is named Mormon. And you had a time period, and I've heard, but I haven't looked up for myself, but I've heard some people on the ex-Mormon Reddit mention that the angel Moroni who brought the plates was originally called Nephi, one of the other characters in the book.
Oh, I
And
remember
it
that
kept
name.
flip-flopping. He kept flip-flopping between the two names before he finally settled on Moroni. It almost sounds like he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do and couldn't get his story straight.
Yeah, that's just, you look at all the history of that, and it just makes your brain hurt. And if any of you have ever been to Utah, then a lot of them towns along I-15 south of Salt Lake, or Delphi, Nephi, all these Mormon prophets or whatever the hell they are.
Yeah, there's what is there an anti-Nephi Lehi town down there? I think there is.
Yeah, I think most of them are covered. All this, and there's a lot of cities that are covered under most of
Yeah, you couldn't.
deities. Yeah.
I would say you couldn't pay me enough to visit Utah, but I think there might be a price. It's just a price nobody can pay.
Yeah.
I actually did go to Salt Lake City once because the American Atheist Convention was being held there.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That'd have been awesome.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things about that convention is it's always held somewhere where we're going to make people uncomfortable because they're the ones who need the message the most.
Yeah.
Well, I guess some people got uncomfortable this time around. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Ken. I dearly love him. Yeah, sure. I love him like I love a case of the pox.
Ken Ham.
Yeah, and
Ken Ham.
somebody else noticed it a day or two ago that Kenny seems to be very obsessed with people like me. And this guy was wondering, what that was all about. And I have to wonder if somebody at that table during Answers News suspects they might be trans.
Could be. Well, no matter what they are, they're always focused on trans and gay people, and it pisses me off. It's just like, if it doesn't directly affect you, then why in the hell are you worried about it?
I mean,
that's something I don't get either. I mean, it seems to be a fear of being surrounded by weirdness you can't handle or something.
You know what? My trans and gay friends aren't any more weirder than I am.
Okay. Now, I actually ask more than once whenever the trans bullshit comes up on his Answers to Genesis site. I do sincerely wonder, are these people more afraid that they would be attracted to someone like me or be someone like me?
Attracted to. I can almost guarantee you that's where their fear is.
It could be, or they're afraid of catching the gay or catching the trans or something like that, which isn't a thing.
Guys, if you're worried about being attracted to me, don't because there will be no reciprocity. I guarantee you.
Well, I mean,
Well,
whenever I
shit.
hear about like, they're afraid of the trans person in the bathroom. I'm like, what do you think they're gonna do? Right? I
Yeah,
mean,
sincerely.
I'm sure that most of them don't go in the bathroom thinking, "Oh, I'm going to try to get me some." Most of us are in there just to let our bodily functions go, and that's pretty much it.
Get in there,
yeah,
get it done,
and
get the hell out.
every time you hear someone talk about like a pedophile, it's inevitably gay pedophilia that
Well,
they're
yeah,
talking
or
about.
they try to
And I
put
mean, of course, that's probably got something to do with all the altar boys and the priests, but still, it's something that seems to happen a lot. Is they assume that one sexual perversion that they hate will come with another.
well, they what they try to do is they try to put the pedophiles or equate them in the LGBTQ community, and it's just wrong because that's not what the communities are about.
Oh
They're the
shit.
Yeah.
whole
Well,
the
you
whole pedophile thing is its own separate deal.
well
But
you
now they're trying. Go ahead.
you remember, Kate, that show we did last year, where Kenny was claiming that the pedophiles wanted their own stripe on the pride flag and all that bullshit.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Fuck that.
and everybody knows no, that's not happening. Yet
No shit.
they want to press that narrative. Um,
Well, they're trying to get in as like that. What do they call it? Minor attracted people
yeah, yeah.
are supposed to be in a protected class because they claim that what they claim is just like gay and lesbian trans and love is love, and we're like, no,
No, wait
not
a
when it
minute.
comes to underage
No.
children. No, that doesn't
Whoa, let's take
apply.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I'm probably going to get myself into a shitload of trouble here, but what else is new? I can see uh, treating these people gingerly in the sense that there are some who want to see mental health people in order to get treated. And
Right.
those mental health people hear pedophilia, and it's like, get away from me, cooties. So, there's, as far as I hear the stories anyway, they're trying to seek out help, and they get turned away for what they're seeking help for by a professional who's supposed to be able to give them the help. Now, okay, be nice to these people for that. But no, 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 no. Love is love to a point, but,
Not in that
not
case,
with a
though.
9-year-old, okay?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Now, one thing that it's bugged me for a while is how exclusive language can be in certain cases. Because, like, if you have someone who totally digs England, who think England's the greatest thing ever, they're an Anglophile.
Yes.
But if it, like, you can't say I think childhood is the best part of life. I love children. I want to protect them and keep them safe because I'm a fan of children. You can't describe yourself as a pedophile.
Right. That would
Right.
not be a good thing.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sure they have to come up with some other misnomer or whatever to describe people who stand up for children's rights or whatever.
Yeah, and contrary to popular belief, that term is not parent.
No, yeah.
Uh,
Well,
Anyway.
I think a distinction should be made between parents and progenitors.
Yes, absolutely. I am with you
Yeah.
100%. Because I know at least a couple of people who never ever should have been allowed to raise children, and unfortunately they raised two of them. And okay, I'm not afraid to say it. They kind of fucked them both up. Because I'm going to admit I still carry the baggage from that. My sister doesn't have to worry about it because she's dead.
Sorry.
Well, it's just the way it goes, I guess. How did Vonnegut write it? So it goes. Yeah. Burst cerebral aneurysm at the age of 46.
Wow, dang.
Yeah, that was, let me think now. That was 12 years ago.
Ouch. I'm sorry.
Eh. The okay, I'm going to say this, and I may get laughed at for this. I do hope her last thought was of her Jesus.
No, I don't think anybody's gonna laugh here.
Um, 'Cause, yeah, she went way over the edge. I like to say that the Slummy Bastards race the two of us Catholic. She found Jesus. I found Carl Sagan, and when she found
There you go.
Jesus, it was that really, really, really annoying Pentecostal type thing.
Oh no, where they like fall on the
Oh,
ground and wiggle around
Yes,
and shit like that.
she
Oh
would
my
tell
god.
stories. Yeah, and it's like, no, I don't. I don't need to see any of that. Tell you the truth. Yeah, they would do this. She would describe going to Denny's after church. A bunch of church people would go there, and they're doing this rolling around on the floor in Denny's.
Oh,
Yeah.
what the
dang.
fuck?
No.
Yeah, the only thing that should be doing that at Denny's is the bacon.
Yeah.
Or the steak.
Oh, for the love of Saint Gulig, and she was something else. Well, she was hyper Catholic as well before she, made the leap. So she had something going on in her head where she was susceptible to that shit.
That's
That's
rough.
sad.
And it's unfortunate. Um, well, at least it's not like the world lost a PhD biologist or anything. When I say we were polar opposites in pretty much everything. Um, I was the one with all the IQ points in that household. Just take it from there.
There you go.
Yeah, I could tell some stories about my mother, but I think I won't.
Okay.
I mean, both of my parents are weird just because, like I'm often saying, I was raised by hippies and they still are. You might not know it to look at them now, but they still shop at the organic co-op, like stores for groceries and stuff. And, half of their friends make pottery and all of this. Very
Like,
Vermont hippie,
so
right?
they shop at Whole Foods and shit like that, or whatever.
Well, maybe like they shop at the like locally owned version of Whole Foods.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
basically, all the people from farmers markets just bring all their shit into one building and
pretty
claim it's
much.
organic. Claim it's organic, and then charge you double the price when really organic fruits and vegetables aren't any different than
Yeah.
whatever's
Well,
Yeah.
but I mean the point being though is that like my hippie parents didn't really know how to deal well with their I want to live in the future and not the woods. I love Star Wars. I love video games. Little kid, like they didn't really know how to deal with it. But at least my dad is intelligent. My mom is so slow on the uptake. I don't know how to explain it. But then again, it might also just be with me because I have this distinct memory of trying to explain something to my mom that she wasn't understanding. And then my dad explains it again in the exact same words. And she goes, "Oh." And I'm like, "But that's what I just said, word for word.
Mm,
What's going on here?" But
eh,
Am I
the
speaking
number of
Spanish
times
here?
the number of times my mother has just not been able to be made to understand like really basic things. It's like I don't know how to deal with her sometimes, and I don't know why my dad was ever attracted to her either.
well,
But
one,
Because the
they
dumb
still
ones are easier to manipulate. That's
well
why.
they seem to be just as much in love as they used to be, but I don't get it. I
uh,
don't know.
I can tell you from just certain things I picked up that, okay, in his case, she was rather good looking in the 40s. So it was definitely a physical thing. Well, then the other thing, too, is he's got maybe only two or three more IQ points than she has. Um, and they're both skirting the 80s as far as that. Man, it was amazing. Um, my the one cousin that was still talking to me put me in touch with my first cousin once removed, his first cousin. And I'm on the phone with Carl, and hi, how are you, and everything. And Carl even told me I don't know how you managed. Your parents were absolutely stupid. And to hear that from another family member was just vindication, you know? Okay, so it wasn't my imagination. It's
Yeah. I don't know. I
Um,
mean, looking back on my childhood, my parents definitely tried, but they didn't really know what they were doing. And there were a lot of times where certain ideals of theirs would get in the way. Like they did not want to allow a Nintendo in the house for the longest time, just because they were convinced that it's all I'd ever do, and violence in a game would make me want to be violent out of the game, and yada yada yada.
jeez.
And like the amount of convincing it took them even to get basic cable, and like it was actually an uphill battle to get them to let me watch movies like Star Wars, because it has wars in the title and people are going to be killing each other, and we don't believe in that, and this that. I
Ah,
mean, because my
jeez.
dad was a conscientious objector for Vietnam, right?
okay.
So my
Oh
parents are
no
very
shit.
anti-war, and in many ways so am I, but they don't seem to get that fiction is like I'm able to distinguish between fiction and real life, but they insisted, no, if you see violence, you'll be violent.
Yeah. Well, I used to get a lot of that.
Correlation doesn't equal causation. That's what
Well, that's why I
that
used to
doesn't.
get a lot of that crap because you had a lot of that going on in the '60s, with
What, video
okay,
games?
the Warner Brothers cartoons, where if you
Um,
watch the Roadrunner and the Coyote, you're going to
Hmm.
be driven to bash your friend with a rock or something like that, and it doesn't necessarily work that way.
You know
yeah.
what? I have never heard my parents, who would have grown up in the 60s or whatever, say, I remember putting on my Acme powered rocket skates
Yeah,
and dropping grand pianos on my friends. No, none of that shit ever happened
I mean I
because there
cannot
was,
I know some people who needed an anvil to the noggin,
yeah,
but
I can't speak for everybody, but I knew the difference.
well, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
okay, I was a hyper intelligent kid, but still,
So you were old beyond your time, or however they say that. Like,
in many ways, yes. In all ways, not necessarily, but in many ways, yeah. Um, I did have the high intellectual capacity going, in which case, I mean, I was well beyond my age peers. Um, I was seen as weird, back then, and not much has changed. Um, and
we're all
even
weird.
the manner in which I would speak would get me taunted and teased and the whole bit. One of the kids down the street, for whatever, he wanted to pick a fight. Come on, fight me, fight me, fight. And I answered him, 8 years old or so, to fight without reason is to lower one's moral standards. That became the catchphrase for the next couple of years because the kid was speaking so strangely.
mm,
Um, well, of course, yeah. I mean, could they have figured out that the sentence structure or not? That's sort. But I mean, I spoke the way I thought. I read voraciously. It's pretty
Mhm.
much most of what I did.
Well, if
And
they would say that a lot, or if that was the catchphrase, it's probably the most intelligent thing that ever come out of their mouths.
pretty
So,
much,
yeah.
um,
So,
I mean, the kids kind of grew up a little bit, but even when they did grow up, they were still a little behind the
assholes.
curve.
Oh yeah.
Um, haven't seen those kids in ages. Well, I know one of them, my next door neighbor. I ran into Marcia on Facebook, in mid 2016 or something. And she quit talking to me when I just voiced my displeasure with her candidate, with her choice for president,
Mm,
who is our current president at this point.
mm.
So yeah, you had a little bit of that going on. They were a little on the conservative. Well, I'm going to admit it. I was a bit on the conservative side.
I was too.
Um,
I was
But
raised
I.
by hippies.
and
So
what?
let me get. You voted for the stoner though, just like I did then, right?
Which
I
one
ended.
was the
The stoner was. Um. He was the one where they asked him, "What do you think about the situation in Aleppo?" And the guy goes, "What's Aleppo?"
Okay.
I
Uh,
don't recall
Gary
that at
Johnson.
all.
Gary
Oh, that
Johnson.
Well,
Yeah,
moron.
the
that's a
stoner.
horrible name.
Gary Johnson. Yeah, and we because I was a never Hillary person, but I also wasn't completely on board with Trump. And at the time, I was kind of a conservative guy. But me and my girlfriend were just like, let's vote for the stoner. I don't want to be associated with either one of those two. So we voted
Well,
for the
Oh
stoner.
my! I
I
held
mean,
my nose
as
until.
rabidly left wing as I am, I was a never Hillary as well. I voted for Jill Stein.
I didn't hear much about her.
Well, nobody really did. I only know about her because I heard a lot of things. Like apparently, there's like some like darker stuff in her past that I didn't know about at the time. But a lot of her policies are in line with mine. So
Well, and I used to be hardcore. You know, I'm still a member of the NRA. I'm a gun owner, but I don't. I never. Well, at first, I kind of associated myself with full-on right-wing stuff, and then it started moving more towards the center. And so I'm just kind of a. I guess if. I guess what you'd consider me as a progressive, I guess, or someone who's kind of right leaning libertarian or something. I like the some of the politics on the left and some on the right, but I won't associate
Okay.
myself with either side.
No,
And
I will.
I usually
well,
try to stay out of politics with other atheists because
It can get a
a
little
lot of them.
testy.
Oh yeah, a lot of them are far left people, and I just don't agree with full on far left or far right people. So I just tend to I just speak my mind when it comes to atheism and stuff, and then I leave the rest alone.
Well,
well, I was raised in South Burlington, which is right next to Burlington, Vermont, where Bernie was mayor for a really, 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 really long time, like most of my childhood. And so I'm definitely solidly in the Bernie camp
mm-hmm.
because I have a lot of good memories of what he did. So
And you know what? I like Bernie. I do. And I like a lot of what he was saying, with the exception of when he was trying to say that he was going to get truckers off the road. And I'm like, oh, you done went down an alley that you can't recover from now, you asshole. You know, because the truckers are the lifeblood of this country. You know, basically everything you had was brought by trucks. So you can't just take trucks off the road, you idiot. You know, so I was all pissed off at
Mm-hmm.
Bernie after he said that.
well, there
I,
are ways you could do it. I mean, it might still be a dick move, but there are ways you could make truckers obsolete.
Well, they come out with a truck that would drive itself. They actually or who was it? There was a truck manufacturer that took a load of beer from Denver to Golden or Golden to Denver, and the truck went completely by itself. And it was the only trip that it was made. But now they're trying to get these trucks now where um, they're completely autonomous until you get to the city that you're driving in, and then it requires a driver to actually drive it to the destination. But a lot of these trucks are starting to become like solar powered or electric or whatever, which is totally fine as long as you don't drive us out of jobs. That's fine.
Yeah, see, I was talking about something a lot more high tech than that, because I've been hearing about these like I don't know if they're vacuum tubes or what, but they have like almost no friction. They'd be underground, and it was like a rail gun from one place to another. It was so fast,
That's
and
interesting.
like they haven't built these yet, except as like models or something. I think these tubes are just full of vacuum, so nothing, and that's
Kind
how
of
they
like
can
at the
run so
bank.
fast. I don't
Kind of
know.
like
It,
at the bank then when you're in the drive-through
Wait a
and you want to
minute.
get.
Is this the thing that Thunderfoot was debunking, or is this something different?
I don't know. I haven't watched Thunderfoot in years.
Because he was talking about there was a test piece of a system like that was built, and
Ah,
he's going.
Purple Arms Lauren says the Hyperloop.
Yeah, that sounds like the one Phil was after, and yeah, I cannot see how that one would work at all. It would be too susceptible to damage. No.
I don't know. I I remember the concept. I don't really remember the details
Okay.
from what I was told about this thing, but it sounded neat, and I don't know.
Now I will say I have been on both sides of the coin as far as politics are concerned. I had mentioned I was a lot more conservative in my younger days. And then about 30 years ago, I started becoming a lot more liberal. And there was something that happened right about that transition. I became poor. And that kind of helped. Um, well, I won't say that it helped drive me to the liberal side. More, I think that not worrying about where my next meal was going to come from tended to keep me on the Republican side of the fence, the right side of the
Right.
um, and these days I'm slightly to the left of Bernie Sanders, um, and yeah, some people think I'm weird, but they're right. It's just too bad I really can't make a run for the Senate because I have thought of making a run for the U.S. Senate. Yeah, they would just need two of us there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in my brain, maybe I'm picturing what politicians do as different from like because I can't imagine actually being a politician. I can imagine having the right ideas, but like how much paperwork is involved? How much do you need to know that I don't know about? You know, like legal details, loopholes and stuff where it's like, "Oh, you can't do this habeas corpus thing unless that debenture thing." I don't fucking know the terms,
Yeah.
so it's like I don't know any of that. So I can be pretty idealistic, but I doubt I'd be a good politician.
Well, then again, I get the impression that's what aides are for.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's aides do a lot of the grunt work, and you just basically the politicians are there to do the PR and to piss people off
Oh well,
because
I can piss people off, no problem.
you're either hated or loved by constituents,
Yeah.
and it depends on what side of the fence you're on too. So I know there's one of them uh, candidates that are running for president in 2020. I forgot. Eric Swadwell or whatever. He's running on the gun confiscation stuff, and he's getting death threats. And I'm like, yeah, because for those of us who thought about being politicians, that's something you want to think about all the time is people killing you. So,
Yeah, I think I'll skip being a politician unless we can me and my minions go and conquer the earth, and now I'm like sitting atop a high throne issuing commands. Okay, but having to actually like participate in real government, no, I'll do without that.
Now, I sometimes have fantasies. Well, I have a lot of fantasies, but that's beside the point. Um, but fantasies of being the oh, what's the word for it? The autocrat of the world.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. Half of me wants to do it, and the other half thinks it's just too much responsibility.
Yeah, responsibility sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's.
agree.
And then the other thing I know that I would need a potent military behind me
Hmm.
because the population of the world would not much like what I would enact into law upon my own word. Um,
Mm, like
because
what?
everybody wants to deny climate change, and one of the things I would want to address would be that. Um, and then you would have straightening out the political system here in the U.S.
Well,
We
one thing
really
I
need to
think
reset here.
with climate change, just thinking about how people would be so much more on board if it didn't threaten their income. Like
Mm-hmm.
you get all the people who make like gasoline and engine oil, all of that causes the pollution. Like knowing that they would have to not sell that stuff anymore, they're like, well, climate change can't be real because otherwise I lose out on all these millions. Is what it seems like. I mean,
That's
if they didn't have that stake in
yeah,
like greenhouse gases, if they didn't have that stake, they'd probably be on board with climate change right away.
very possible. No, the cousin I mentioned a little while ago was complaining once a couple of years ago where there was a rather mild winter in the Cleveland area, and she's, I want snow, I want snow, and Kathy, you know about climate change, right? I don't care about any of that. I want snow. It's like, and then the other one
That's
with when Ohio was doing that whole thing about the heartbeat abortion bill.
Hmm.
I had mentioned something about that there, and then say, "Oh, I'm past that. I don't care." And it's like, what?
what the?
Can you not see past the tip of your own snotty nose? For Christ's sake!
Yeah,
But
That
this,
does seem to
sorry.
be a thing with conservatives. I've noticed
yeah,
is that lack of empathy and forward thinking.
yeah,
It's all in the moment and me. It seems to be.
yeah, and
Mhm.
this is the thing. I mean, she married a guy with a seven-figure income, so that's all she needs.
Hmm.
Well, yeah. Once you have money, you don't worry about shit like that.
Yeah, his job is building shit he can't talk about.
Nice.
What, like military stuff?
Yeah, a lot of defense
Uh,
contracts. I forget what type of engineer he is, but he's definitely an engineering. I don't get along well with engineers anyway, for the most part. But that's beside the point. Yeah, okay. I kept being overlord. I'm not even a reptile. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, purple. What you don't understand is on the back of this top that I'm wearing, under the back is a zipper.
Huh?
Yeah,
Why?
that's where I shed my human skin and reveal my
Oh,
yeah.
that's hilarious.
Like that Doctor Who episode back, what was it, 2005, when Eccleston was the Doctor. When you have money, you think you can control the weather, pretty much. Um, yeah, well, that's the other thing. I mean, the entire family I came from could not see past their own needs. How I, no, I shouldn't say how I managed to get past that. I know how. Yeah, again, I became poor. Um, so maybe I don't know. Maybe everybody needs to become poor.
it does help, I think. I mean, I have an almost embarrassing amount of money in the bank right now for how little I actually do. And I'm still agonizing over buying myself some presents that I kind of want, that I can't expect anyone else to pick up for me. And so, but like the price tag, I look at it and I think, well, 5 years ago, that would have been my entire entertainment budget for the month. Right. And so just thinking about that and where I am now, it still makes me like overly frugal.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
it makes me think I want to make sure that I am taking in more than I'm spending.
Well, as an owner operator, me and my girlfriend got into the six-figure income thing, and so what ends up happening is once you make a lot of money, uh, you end up spending a lot more, and so you get your ass in even more debt than when you were before. And then when things go awry, it makes, once you're not making that kind of money anymore, it makes it even worse, because now you're not making as much and you have like 10 times the debt.
yeah. Now
It's
you're speaking of spending money to maintain the income, or spending money simply because you can.
both.
Okay.
Yes, both, because and now we're kind of in the middle now. We have enough to, I guess, pay the bills and have a little bit left over, but it's not like it was. So we know what it's like to be on both ends of the spectrum, and so I can totally relate to not only people who don't have money, but people who do. So
Mm-hmm.
now we're just kind of in the middle of all that. So now we're trying to work ourselves out of debt, which then, like, trying to, I try to avoid spending money on stuff. Yeah, there's stuff I'd like to have, but then I'm like, do I really need it? you know so
Yeah.
there's always that constant battle. I don't like, I used to buy all sorts of shit, and now I just don't buy anything that I don't have to, because I want to make sure to get all of our debt paid down.
Yeah.
So
I'm slapping my wrist right now because I spent just a bit more than I really should have just on frivolous shit. So yeah, my what is it now? My discretionary income was something in the on the order of $200 this month, where I'm usually trying to keep it below 150. Um, Now that includes food, that includes whatever clothing, and yeah, so it's a little tight, but I don't know. I guess you get used to it.
I just wish that, and I kind of feel along the same lines of Bernie, where people who um, people who work their asses off or whatever shouldn't be living in poverty. Well, nobody really should be living in poverty. Nobody. I don't care if you can contribute to society or not, but there has to be a way to make it to where nobody's living in poverty.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I'm full of shit or not. Well, I usually am, but I'm wondering if part of the problem is one of too damn many people. Um,
Mm,
because the
maybe.
the what's the word for it? Analogy that I've used is, if you have a pizza, two people sit down at the table, they're going to eat their fill, and there might be a little left over. If 25 people sit around that same pizza, everybody goes hungry, and
Yeah.
we
Well, except the ones who can beat up the others.
yeah,
Then the survival of the fittest, whole Darwin thing comes into play there.
Yeah.
which is it,
Survival of the fattest.
which is rather apropos, because that whole survival of the fittest thing came from the industrial revolution, the economics of the time.
Hmm.
So it was an economic thing. Um, Prosperity, spending money you don't have to buy things you don't need to impress people you don't like. Kinda,
Mm.
kinda.
Aim. Yep. That's
So
it.
the thing is, though, I mean, if there's too many people, what do you do about that? Because now we
Yeah.
start getting into like I mean, you can't just go around killing everybody. That would be wrong. But then
Not that I
again,
wouldn't mind
you can't
sometimes.
just Well, sure, but you can't just ship people out like you don't get to live in this country anymore because we drew lots and you lost or something. I mean, you can't do that.
Right.
I think, I mean, unless you're talking about colonizing Mars, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do if there's too many people.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think the only thing we really can do, short of genocide, is realize what our parents did and what we continue and kind of figure we have to deal with it. And a lot of
I don't
people
know.
don't want to do that.
Yeah, I read a lot of sci-fi, and so many of them where it's like people have to register to have children, and you are only allotted so many, and all of that stuff. I mean,
Kind of
because
like
there's
China.
Yeah, I was about to say China was like that.
that's gotten into sci-fi quite a bit. And I mean, seriously, I can think of at least two stories off the top of my head, and I know I've heard it in more, where that's the case, and it always ends up like, oh, that was dreamt up by fascists who want to control us all, like always. So I don't know. I mean, the idea of limiting how many children people can have is another one where I'm just like, that's not as unworkable as genocide, but it's still on the
Yeah.
list.
So I
Well,
don't
then
You
you
know,
know.
got that. Oh, go ahead.
Maybe what we have to do is just, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Face up to the fact that we're just going to kill ourselves off.
well, there is that.
Eventually,
Because
if
eventually
things
there's
keep
going to be insufficient resources. A lot of the coastal areas are going to go underwater. Going to be hard to raise food. Um, and who
Well,
knows? I hope it's well. Okay, by now I'm figuring it's not going to be within my lifetime because my lifetime appears to be a bit shorter than I thought it was going to be 6 months ago. But I hope I don't see it. And maybe this is one of the things I keep telling people that I don't mind. I don't mind that I'm dying because there's a lot of shit I'm gonna miss.
see, there's a lot of shit I don't want to miss, assuming it ever happens. But like space travel being common. But I don't know. I mean, one of the things I keep hearing about is how if we start killing each other off, it won't necessarily be in like a nuclear war. That with climate change, water is going to become scarce,
Oh
and there's going
yeah,
to be like wars fought over
over
water
water.
yeah.
and all of that. And so, I mean, the coming Road Warrior apocalypse could turn out to be an interesting thing, but probably not as fun as it looks in the movies.
Right, you don't
Well,
get
yeah.
all those Klingon type suits going on and all that other shit. No, it's just gonna be.
Yeah. And it's funny because I, for some reason, for the longest time, assumed that the Road Warrior series, the Mad Max, was a nuclear wasteland, but no, it actually was that the water ran out. That
Hmm.
was the plot.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and the also the idea of the road warriors, or sects of people roaming the land, raping and pillaging and stuff. Just I don't. I figured
Eh,
the
maybe
everybody
I'm just
was maybe everybody was on that whole zombie apocalypse thing where they thought that that's what would happen after the zombie apocalypse. But um,
yeah.
I just that's why I get really testy about gun ownership and people trying to take away our guns, because if something really like that happens, I'm going to be glad I have my two M4s to be able to pick people off that are trying to hurt my family or whatever.
I'm pretty sure we're not going to have a zombie apocalypse.
You just broke my heart. No,
Now,
Man.
invasion, on the other hand, I don't know.
no, I don't think there's no, because even scientists say that there's just no way that the way them zombie movies are set up, that there's just no way that any kind of disease or anything could mutate that fast.
Mm.
So
Well, one thing that has bugged me a lot is, I mean, zombies used to be brains while they shuffle along. Now they're like running killing
yeah,
machines.
well,
And I'm
yeah.
like,
Yeah, they're not George Romero's zombies anymore, you know?
yeah.
No, they're 28 days later. Run like you know, run like gazelles type. You know.
Which, I mean, does have a way of being much scarier than just the shuffling, shambling zombies, because you'd think those would actually be pretty easy to defend against.
Well,
But
yeah, and you could run away from them too.
yeah. But at the same time, the fact that zombies have been changed that much is mildly annoying. It's kind of like when, like the way I remember vampire lore was if you're bit by a vampire but not killed, you turn into a vampire. But then,
Right.
if you are killed, you're just dead, right? And then I guess it started with Anne Rice, an interview with the vampire. Now it's like you have to be bitten by the vampire and killed, but then they feed you some of their blood, and that's how you become a vampire, and all this stuff. I'm like, that's not what I grew up on.
Things just change. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's the one constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, thank you. Was it Rene Descartes that wrote that, or I forget who wrote "The Only Constant Is Change." Might be a lot older than
I just have the Monty Python Philosopher's song in my head now.
that.
Rene Descartes was drunk and fart. I drink, therefore I am. Yeah.
You
There's
guys are
nothing.
talking about the Animaniacs earlier.
Okay.
You remember the states, or the
Well, there's
United States song,
yeah,
or
that's
the country
that's
songs or whatever.
Yakko's America. Yakko's
Yeah.
World I have memorized. I cannot do Wacko's America for some reason. I mean, like, I think part of it is just I remember each verse, but not which order they go in.
Well, isn't it just alphabetical?
No, it's not alphabetical. It starts with Baton Rouge, Louisiana, then Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of Ohio. There's Montgomery, Alabama, south of Helena, Montana. Then there's Denver, Colorado, under Boise, Idaho. So it's all meant to
Oh,
rhyme.
okay.
Yeah.
I just I remember the world one, and then I didn't remember. But I remember it's just funny just to watch him point out all that shit. But
Yeah.
Now
No,
you've
but that one's not alphabetical in any way. It does tend to be organized by region. Like Africa is done in almost one verse,
yeah,
okay.
basically.
Now you've got me thinking about Tom Lehrer and the Elements song, which is way the
Mm,
hell out of date by now.
yeah, I remember that one. There's also a Microsoft song that I have that
Microsoft
is
song.
so out of date. I mean, it talks about how 4 gig drives don't grow on trees as part of it, and
Wow.
yeah,
Well, okay. The first computer I ever actually owned, possessed, had in my house had a 10 meg hard drive,
Wow.
mhm.
and that was amazing stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
Um,
I remember when having more than 64K of RAM was a big thing.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I have 64K. That's crazy now.
Now I bought the chips and filled the RAM on the machine I had. It was an 8088 based machine. We're talking 1985 here.
Mhm.
That was interesting where you bought the individual chips and you actually put them into sockets on the board in the case. One of those deals. Um, and yeah, I filled that 10 meg hard drive with assembly
Mhm.
language code.
Yeah, I mostly had like Sierra games on there. If you remember Sierra, they
Yes,
did the
I
King's Quest
do.
and Space Quest series.
Mm-hmm.
I Most of my hard drive was taken up by that. So Oh, and Purple, I was never able to get cassette drives to work ever. I didn't have a Commodore 64. I had a Trash 80 Coco 2, which also had its own tape recorder drive, and I could never get it to work. It just never recognized anything on there as data.
Huh. A friend of mine had a Trash 80 and had the tape deck with it, and it worked for him. So I don't know what the difference might have been.
I don't know. Well, maybe part of it is like how old I was and how much I did or didn't understand what the hell I was doing,
Okay, possible,
right?
possible.
Maybe, but eh, I don't know. That was the one thing about having that Trash 80 is I didn't have a disk drive of any sort. So anything I did on it, I couldn't save. So
Yeah,
like the few times I
yeah.
would try like because when you boot it up, it goes immediately to basic, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to program in basic a lot, figure out how that went. But when it was done, I was like, well, goodbye all that work. Nice knowing you, right? It wasn't until I got a PC that I actually had a hard drive to work with.
Yeah, it's only too bad that they didn't have something like well, I don't know how much a tape drive, paper tape drive would have cost, or anything like that. God, I loved paper tape. I really did. Well, this is when I was cutting my teeth, and I was using teletype machines as input output to machines that had like 16K memory, um, a 1 megahertz clock, stuff like that. Back in 1970. I was a
Well,
lucky kid.
what amazes me, thinking back at the computers I knew, like the first computers I ever played with, and realizing how much more powerful those were than the computer on the rocket that went to the moon.
Yes.
Well, yeah, our phone, like the phone I'm holding talking to you guys, it's more technologically advanced than the computers that sent our astronauts to the moon. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
wow. And I remember like our first computer we had in our house, um, we had to boot it up on MS-DOS. And
Mm.
Oh yeah.
with the C prompt shit, you had to type
Mm.
in the commands, and it
I
was
actually
it was
kind of liked that. It made me feel like a hacker.
kinda, yeah.
Well, that's the stuff I
Like,
grew up with. It was all command line interface, if you will,
mhm.
which is why I didn't mind moving over to Linux before the desktop systems became popular. I mean, I started with Slackware 3.5. You were working with a command line interface on that one, and
Oh,
it was
before Windows.
oh yeah. Well, that computer I was talking about, the one in '85, that ran DOS 211,
Hmm.
and
Well, I remember working with VAX computers, like because you would log on to those,
yeah.
from your home with the modem when Skowiwiert, right? And so the first time I heard somebody say that they were an anti-vaxxer, now I knew
Oh
about the concept
no.
of not vaccinating, but I'd never heard that term for it. So the first place my brain went was, "You're against those old computers?" What? And then I heard the context and I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense than
Okay.
what I heard. I mean, like this sounds like a bad joke, but no, honestly, the first time I heard it, I did a double take because I was like, that's the only thing I knew that was called a vax.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, now if you was to do that comparison or whatever, I would think that whoever was saying that, and you figured out what they were talking about, you would be like, okay, well, what you just said makes you sound more stupid being against vaccinating your children than being against a computer. But
well, I actually this was not a case of me being face to face with them. This was me seeing it on the news.
oh no shit.
Yeah, so I was like, "Anti-vaxxer, what? Huh? Oh, I hear the term, then like a picture of a hypodermic needle pops up, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, you know."
Oh man. The cluster deck. Yeah, I worked on an 1140 first time in uni. This was '74, and yeah, that was the main thing that they did was ran basic on Ristus E, but when nobody else was using the machine, uh, the caretakers, those of us who took care of the machines, would bring down basic and bring up Fortran and do all kinds of wonderful things and get the petroleum engineering department really pissed off at us because it was technically their computer. Marathon Oil had donated it to them. They didn't know how to take care of it. They didn't know how to operate it. So they had to really bite the damn bullet and come to the math department and said, "Will you do this for us?" Good. They hated us every minute of the day for that one.
I can't imagine that their tech support people would be any more impressed with the way people handle computers nowadays. My mouse doesn't work. Did you bring your own mouse from home?
Yeah,
Do
okay.
you? Yeah, because
There's
I never actually touched Fortran, but I did play with Basic and Pascal a lot back in the day.
you were not that far away from Fortran.
Okay.
Um, Fortran was a lot like Basic. Um, I'm wondering if the people at Dartmouth kind of modeled Basic on Fortran because Fortran's actually older. Um, but the way subroutines were handled, the way variables were handled was a little bit different. Other than that, if you could do Basic, you could do Fortran within a day or two.
Mm.
Uh, but
Okay. I mean, thinking back on how well Basic was, I mean, it wasn't a bad programming language,
yeah,
but the thing I didn't like about it, and maybe there was a solution for this that I didn't know, but if you wrote the code numbers too close together, and then all of a sudden you're like, but I need like a line 35 between the
oh,
current 34 and 35, that sort of thing, where you had to limit yourself by the code line.
yeah, that was with the basics that demanded that every line have a label. Yeah,
Mm,
and
yep.
some of the later basics did away with that, so it looked a little bit more like Fortran. But there was a basic I did run that had the every line labeled requirement, but also had a system level command that would renumber the entire program at the step level that you picked. So you could run the command with I want to run renumber the entire program starting from 100 and stepping by 10. And yeah, that was a lifesaver.
Yeah. It's I'm glad I went to art rather than programming, but there was definitely a time when I thought it'd be fun to make my own games.
Yeah, I bet it would be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had enough knowledge of how to write the game itself. I could totally do that. But what I didn't know how to do, and my teachers couldn't teach me, was the graphics, right? Like
Okay.
how to actually have sprites was something I didn't know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that impeded any game making I might ever have done.
Oh my, purple rhymes with orange. Learned how to program in COBOL. I am so sorry. Yeah, I worked for a software house back in the '80s. Uh, One side of the house did BASIC, the other side did COBOL. I did both. And God, COBOL was enough to drive you to drink. Oh man, you learned assembly language on the Univacs. Okay, I loved assembly language programming. Um, I can't do it to save my life anymore, but it was so much fun to do everything because you didn't have the canned routines, you didn't have any of that stuff. Everything you needed, you wrote yourself, and you learned very quickly how to build a library, to have routines that you used often and didn't want to rewrite. But that was a while ago, darn it. Now writing in protected mode and all that other stuff, I did not learn to do that, so I don't know how well I would do it assembly language anymore. Yeah, I knew COBOL.
Well, okay, I know what it is, but I know less about it than I know about assembly and Fortran. So,
So COBOL, that is the common business oriented language. Basically, the people who wrote COBOL tried to turn it into natural language.
oh,
So you have add this to that, giving the other could be a statement. Um, the the way variables are defined and typed was quite interesting. It resembles the current data structures that you would find in C. You would have a variable under which you would define subvariables, under which you would define sub-subvariables. That could be useful at times, but the language itself did so little. It was just basically an adding machine that it got very frustrating for me.
hmm.
Machine
I don't know.
libraries, new languages are very removed from hardware calls. Yep.
I think part of why I wanted to learn programming, aside from just wanting to make my own games, was that a large part of my childhood was taken up by things like Tron and war games and stuff like that. So I saw a lot of cool stuff at the time being done with computers. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to, try to learn to do all of that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
I did end up falling in love with computer art far more because my high school actually had an animation program, like
Oh,
an animation
yay.
class. Yeah. Yeah, we actually had an old video toaster that ran on the Amiga. If you ever heard of those, it came with a really rudimentary version of Lightwave 3D, and that was
I
my
know about Video Toaster. Yeah.
yeah, but for the most part, we were using, oh gosh, I forget what the computer itself was, but there was this Deluxe Paint 2 Enhanced was the name of the program, if I remember right, where you could actually create animation like 2D animation because we only had the one 3D computer. Um, but it was definitely an interesting class.
Sounds like it. There's one of the disadvantages of going through high school when I did, because the equipment and the software were just not up to that level yet. Um,
Mm.
but then again, it was fun because they weren't up to that level yet. We learned to do a lot of things that are not necessary anymore, but I still consider fun. Like writing a routine that will take ASCII input and turn it into a binary number. And
Hmm.
now all you need to do is like A to I or A to F or that sort of thing in C. ASCII to integer, ASCII to floating point. The routines are already there in the C library. So
Okay. I don't know. I just I don't know. There were a lot of things I didn't quite understand about programming when I first started out, and so a lot of my attempts to make something similar to say Zork, for example,
okay,
a lot of it was just that each room was its own separate I don't know bit of code
yeah,
rather than having something that had a bunch of subroutines and then read the rooms as data, right?
yeah,
It was really clumsy and hacky. But then again, I was about 11, so
yeah. I
you know,
mean, you were just getting started, and you start
yeah.
small and work your way up. Um, it was amazing when I discovered the magic of data tables and even using a table to pick up jumps of where to go to subroutines to do various things based on command line. And the FTP program that comes along with the the GNU package is quite like that. Each command that you would input is found in the table, and you just jump off to that subroutine that takes care of it. And the way it's done, C was the only language I'd done, the only high level language I had done that did that sort of table lookup and jump off. The only other time I would do something like that was an assembly language, and again, you did it yourself. Oh man, I'm gonna have to pick up my stuff again. I'm gonna have to get back into coding. Well, there are a couple of things I want to do. You know how music is tagged, where you have your music player and it'll show you the title and the artist, and I want to expand that to include tags that are specific to formal music, but what most people call classical music, to where you would have date completed, date published. You would have tags for each movement. You would have era, or rather than genre, you would have something that could get you to Baroque or classical or romantic, that sort of thing, with greater ease. And the worst of it is just sitting down and expanding, let's say IDE3 to eggs, and just getting it to work, before even writing the first line of code. Someday, if I live that long, because I've started it 5 or 6 times, and I always give up in frustration.
I've felt that way with some of those like animations I've started, stories I've started writing, where it's just like I get to something that bogs me down, and I'm like, is this really worth it anymore?
Yeah.
I actually, with the project I'm working on right now, I had some troubles with a certain 3D model I was building, and I almost used that as an excuse to like quit, but worked through it, and now I'm still chugging along. I'm not sure when I'm ready to cast the damn thing yet, because the hard part is sitting down and writing it. Like I have in my head a very clear idea of where I want to go, but just sitting down and opening that first document and putting down those first couple of words is really hard.
Yeah, it's what do you want to call it? The baseline work, the stuff that comes at the bottom of all of it, is probably the hardest of all of it. And don't mind me, I'm resetting my dentures.
Oh, I should probably go, actually. It's past noon and I'm hungry. So.
Are you trying to get rid of me? Sniff, sniff.
I'm trying to get rid of everybody. That's what my orbital plasma cannons are for.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom, and I'm sure you guys don't want to make that trip with me.
Right, and
skip that.
What we might end up doing here, let me turn this back on. There we go. I don't know if nobody minds. Does everyone just want to take off and do whatever it is they were going to do for the rest of the day? And
okay.
Yeah, well, it's been great talking with everybody. I really enjoyed this.
It's been great having you, Matthew. And as always, Kate, I dearly love having you on channel. It's beautiful.
It's this thing I do.
Yeah.
And I want you both to know. I want you both to know that neither one of you two are ugly, no matter what anybody else says.
Well, what I said about that one is my ex always had a thing that she would say, because of the meter, old, fat, and ugly. So I just throw that one in there. And she's talking about old, fat, and ugly. She's 13 years younger than I am. Okay.
See, now I've got that Weird Al song in my head, the Young, Dumb, and Ugly song. Just when you're young, We're so young, dumb, and ugly. I don't know. I can't do it. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
so I'll catch you like the plague. Have fun.
well, you take care, Kate, and definitely.
We'll have to all do this again one of these days. I try to get in on a lot of what Neil does too,
Okay.
and sometimes I'm driving or I'll drive down the road and I'll be in the chat, but I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm here, Neil, but I'm driving." So I used to get in on a lot of. After my deconversion story, I used to get in on a lot of other people's deconversion stories and after parties and stuff, and so I just haven't because they haven't jived with my schedule and driving and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So,
Okay,
but
then.
anyways, it's been a pleasure talking with y'all.
Great having you on, and please come back again.
I will.
And everybody over in the side chat, I appreciate every minute of you guys watching and listening. Without you, I would have no reason to do this stuff. And with that, I think I'm going to say thanks a lot, troops. See you on the other side.